My sister's wealthy partner spent the entire meal ridiculing my outfit, my occupation, and my manner of speaking, while my spouse gripped my hand and murmured, "Don't." When the man began boasting about his most recent transaction, I reached for my phone. What followed next concluded three matters simultaneously. He described my accent as charming. That was the exact term he chose, charming. The way one might speak of a kid's artwork displayed on a fridge door. He tilted his wine glass in my direction across my mother's dinner table. The candle flames reflected in the deep red liquid until it appeared nearly black. His smile was crafted into the precise expression of a man who had never questioned whether the room actually wanted to hear him speak. "Quite old-fashioned," he remarked. "Rural Pennsylvania, correct?" "You don't encounter that in important professional environments these days." My relatives chuckled. My mother started first. Patricia Harrington never overlooked an opportunity when a powerful man held the floor. My father offered a quiet laugh, the sort that declared we shared the same perspectives. My sister Vanessa pressed two polished fingers to her lips, pretending to feel awkward without fully committing, and my husband Mateo gently pressed my hand beneath the table. "Please," he whispered, his lips hardly shifting. "Don't create a disturbance." 5 words, quiet enough that no one else noticed them, strong enough that I sensed each one distinctly. Like pressure on a tender spot, I glanced down at my plate, asparagus arranged neatly beside beef cooked so rare it nearly shone. My mother's wedding porcelain, the sparkling crystal glasses, the substantial silver cutlery that turned every supper into a performance. I had been performing for this family my entire existence. I smiled. Dominic's grin broadened, pleased. He believed I had acknowledged my position at the table. He had no clue he was seated at one I owned. Let me explain who I was in that space before describing what I did there. My name is Sienna Harrington. I am 29 years old. In my household, I am presented as the sensible one. A description my mother offers with a gentle, regretful smile, as if describing a small design imperfection in an otherwise beautiful home. Vanessa is always introduced ahead of me. This is our youngest, luxury brand advising, exceptional with customers, then the shift toward me, the energy dims, and this is Sienna, our sensible one. Sensible in my family's vocabulary signifies secure, neutral, the woman who heads home before the final course. Vanessa entered every space wrapped in fragrance, fine fabrics, and a sharp, strategic self-assurance that caused rooms to adjust around her. She understood fashion houses, art funders, gentlemen who discussed developing economies while sipping sparkling wine. She turned the act of ordering a beverage into a professional connection. I understood salary regulations, system design, fairness algorithms, and how to maintain composure when a server failed at 2:11 a.m. with 43 staff members relying on the solution. But to my parents, I handled personnel matters. Personnel meant paperwork, celebratory treats, reminding adult men not to utter foolish comments in gatherings. The reality was something they had never bothered to inquire about. 5 years earlier, I left a corporate position that had gradually stripped away parts of my identity like a courteous teardown. I created a firm called Streamwave Solutions at our kitchen counter, worn lounge clothes, convenience store caffeine, a computer that needed 4 minutes to start. The concept involved programs that assisted businesses in recruiting without getting lost in data tables and instincts disguised as executive insight. The initial build was truly unattractive. The interface loaded gradually. The color scheme resembled an outdated banking site from 2009. I wept over programming I struggled to grasp. I presented to funders who glanced beyond me before I even settled into my seat, and once devoted an entire Friday evening to responding to client service inquiries, since I managed the whole support. Operation alone. 47 backers declined. The 48th posed a single question none of my relatives had ever considered. What do you require to expand? I can still recall that space. Beige flooring, poor quality brew. Rainfall striking the glass behind him, my voice trembling as I replied, stepping out afterward and standing beneath the overhang with my device clutched to my chest. Laughing and weeping while cabs splashed through puddles because something had finally shifted in the proper direction. Streamwave expanded steadily afterward, then more noticeably. By the evening, Dominic Laurent occupied my mother's table. My organization employed 43 staff members, maintained 3 locations, served over 200 business customers, and was engaged in purchase conversations with Apex Capital partners that had lasted 5 months and estimated our worth between $40 and $60 million. My relatives remained unaware of any of this. Mateo knew fragments. He knew I stayed late at work. He knew I handled client discussions. He knew I maintained a company account and consulted a lawyer named Evelyn who contacted me more frequently than most companions. He never pressed for additional details. I had convinced myself this showed consideration. That Sunday supper was the moment I realized it represented something different. Vanessa phoned 3 days prior to declare she would bring a guest. He's special, she explained, breathless in the manner she became about fresh experiences. Private equity, Wharton background, global holdings, dad is already captivated. I stood in the bedroom gazing at my dark blue outfit suspended on the closet door. My laptop rested open on the bed, its display illuminated with a message from Apex's purchase group. Final participant list included. I should have examined it right then. Instead, I fastened the same dress I had worn for 3 consecutive Sundays and drove to my parents' residence like someone entering a space where all believed they knew the conclusion. My mother answered the door before we could knock. Pearls, significant pearls. Her gaze performed its usual inspection before her smile appeared. Navy once more, she noted, brushing her lips near my cheek. How reliable, a small wound wrapped in delicate paper. I had been unwrapping such comments my whole life. In the sitting area, Vanessa rose from the couch in ivory silk that made my attire seem like workplace fabric. Next to her stood Dominic Laurent, attractive in a manufactured manner. Bright straight teeth, dark suit fitted precisely to his self-importance. A sun-kissed complexion that suggested either recent travel to a warm place or expense to create that impression. His grip was firm and rehearsed. My father arrived carrying scotch and offered Dominic the handshake he had never extended to Matteo, strong with both hands. The clasp of gentlemen who recognize one another. Apex Capital, my father stated, as if savoring something fine. Vanessa mentions you're connected to Apex. Among various pursuits, Dominic replied fluidly. The name passed through me like a chill draft. Apex had occupied my attention for 5 months. I knew their senior director possessed a silver strand in her hair and tapped her pen 3 times before emphasizing a point. I knew their junior team member posed the keenest inquiries. I had attended their meeting rooms. I had bargained with their legal group. I did not recognize Dominic Laurent. I remained silent. I noted it. I observed. The meal started with roasted vegetable broth. Dominic complimented the consistency. My mother nearly beamed. He conversed in the tongue of men who had discovered that appearing significant required less effort than possessing depth. Leverage, efficiency, strategic recovery, industry alignment. Terms that sounded weighty yet conveyed almost nothing. My father leaned in. My mother poured more wine for Dominic. Vanessa chuckled at his replies before they concluded. Matteo attempted once. We're exploring personal histories this term, and several of my pupils have uncovered remarkable ancestral accounts. That's pleasant, my father responded, already shifting attention back to Dominic. Now regarding your purchase pipeline. Matteo's posture lowered slightly. I sensed the familiar irritation rising somewhere deep inside. Then Dominic addressed me. So Sienna, he said, wearing the grin of someone offering benevolence. Share details about your modest personnel realm. The dining area suddenly felt chillier. He described my field to me while eating my mother's costly meat. Personnel management is essential, naturally, he stated, but genuine planning occurs at higher tiers. Expansion, funding, placement. People usually contribute to expansion, I replied. Nervous chuckles circled the table. My mother intervened swiftly with polished grace. Sienna has always favored security. She isn't impulsive. My father nodded regarding tolerance for uncertainty. Vanessa offered the pitying expression I disliked most, the one suggesting she excused my lack of impressiveness. Matteo focused on his dish. Dominic labeled my outfit traditional, then enduring, then pleasantly reserved. Each description a tighter container to confine me. He advised Matteo to abandon instruction for corporate advising. Identical knowledge, improved presentation, and laughed when Matteo mentioned enjoying teaching. Naturally, dedication counts until bills arrive. My fork tapped the plate. Matteo's palm rested on my knee under the table, not reassurance. Restriction, sweets arrived. Layered coffee dessert in elegant bowls. My mother identified the shop before anyone sampled it. I sat with lukewarm beverage and watched a man devote 2 hours to using fortune as a ruler. And I calculated the gap between who I appeared to be at that table and who I existed as during every other moment of my days. Then arrived the comment on my speech. Charming, Dominic declared. In a somewhat dated style, everyone chuckled. My mother, who once funded pronunciation lessons when I was 14 because she claimed I blurred my sounds. My father, Vanessa. The entire warmly lit space concurring without stating it aloud that I provided the regional flavor at a gathering that had surpassed me. Matteo squeezed my hand. Don't create a disturbance. I met his gaze. He appeared pale, not ashamed of Dominic. Of me. Of what I might attempt that would interrupt the refined harshness everyone had consented to label as supper. Something within me became completely calm, not shattered. Calm, shattered items disperse. Calm ones pause, then Dominic reclined with his wine and uttered the statement. Regarding substantial commerce, I'm involved in a significant purchase currently. Software enterprise, stream something. My heartbeat did not quicken, it slowed. The system is adequate, he went on. Average level personnel technology. Ironically, we intend to reorganize management, refine the technical foundation, reduce overlaps, then resell. These creators typically fail to grasp the worth of their creation. They achieve success by chance, then individuals like us refine it professionally. The utensil in my grasp halted above the dessert. Stream something, my organization. My mother's eyes sparkled with approval. My father leaned closer, inquiring about schedules. 90 days, Dominic stated. Swift completion, individuals like us. Creators like me. I surveyed the table, my mother captivated, my father admiring. Vanessa pleased with her choice, Matteo puzzled. No one realized that the man showcasing a transaction he had no involvement in was discussing the 43 staff I had recruited. The 200 customers I had developed. The system I had programmed in basic early versions at my kitchen counter wearing old casual attire, but I realized, and for the first occasion that evening I smiled inwardly, Dominic. My tone carried across the space like furniture dragging on flooring in a crowded eatery. Every face turned. Even the flames appeared to hesitate. Dominic blinked, yes. Which organization did you mention you're associated with? He regained composure smoothly. Apex Capital Partners, and you're directing the Streamwave purchase? Correct, entertain now. Do you have connections there? Vanessa chuckled softly. My mother shot me a glance warning me not to humiliate the household. Matteo adjusted in his chair. I placed my utensil down. The metal produced one brief final noise against the dish. Something along those lines, I stated. I activated my device. I had arranged the files months earlier. Apex examination materials. Purchase participants, legal exchanges, staff declarations. My fingers navigated them steadily. I located the participant list. Official Apex stationery, recent date. Every individual participating in the Streamwave discussions. I angled the display toward Dominic. That's odd, I remarked, because I established and lead Streamwave Solutions. I've been discussing terms with Apex for 5 months. Your name doesn't appear on the purchase group. The quiet was the type that occurs when something valuable shatters. Dominic's grin didn't disappear at once. It lifted initially, then started fracturing from the borders, the way frost splits from the middle before anything truly collapses. My mother gazed at me as if I had begun using a foreign tongue. My father's eyes lowered to the device. Vanessa uttered, "What?" in a faint whisper. Mateo froze completely. I scrolled onward. Senior directors, legal advisors, reviewers, technical evaluation group, integration specialists. I raised my eyes. No Dominic Laurent. He cleared his throat. Purchase arrangements are complex. Not every participant shows on every record. These aren't summary notes. I responded. These are the formal group lists delivered straight to me as leader. Color rose beneath his sun-kissed skin. I opened the next file, also based on official records. You left Apex 6 months ago. My mother's wine vessel shook. A slender crimson trail slid down the side and reached her fingertip. Dominic's tone altered, lost its smoothness. You lack understanding of the situation. I angled the display toward the entire group. Staff dismissal notice, I stated. Submitted following Apex's removal of him for reasons: misrepresenting involvement in transactions, fabricating client documents, taking responsibility for purchases he played no part in. Vanessa produced a noise I had never heard from her. Quiet, primal, as if pierced. Dominic rose, his seat dragging loudly. That is entirely taken out of proportion. What proportion justifies deception? I inquired. No one chuckled. The flames continued burning. The overhead light buzzed. Beyond the windows, a vehicle drove past on the damp road. Tires murmuring across the surface. The everyday world proceeded while the meticulously built one at this table unraveled at its seams. My father examined the material on my device with the focus of someone witnessing his own assessment crumble. You claim to be a senior director. Vanessa murmured. You claimed promotion. Dominic reached toward her arm. Vanessa, dear, don't. She withdrew. Don't use that term. He faced my parents then. Desperate. Mrs. Harrington, I can clarify. Sienna is obviously distressed. Perhaps she misread. I laughed. It startled everyone, myself included. I developed the firm you labeled average. I explained. I created the initial programming at my kitchen counter. I endured 47 investor refusals. I recognize every individual on that purchase group, including which reviewer stores snack bars in his bag because review sessions extend long. I leaned ahead. You don't get to occupy my mother's residence, belittle my efforts, belittle my spouse's profession, belittle my speech, then adopt my firm like an outfit. Dominic glanced at Mateo then. Final option. Another man to rescue him. Mateo looked aside. My mother rose. Her seat produced almost no noise. She required no volume. Patricia Harrington had functioned for 30 years relying on the influence of a woman who directed the space through presence alone. Leave my residence, she declared. Patricia, wait. He regarded Vanessa once more. She was weeping. Makeup lines tracing both sides of her face. Arms crossed over her chest as if attempting to contain something that had already departed. He seized his jacket, headed to the entrance. It opened, shut, and in the quiet afterward every individual at that table turned and regarded me. For 29 years I had been unnoticed at that table. Now I was the sole focus in the space. No one spoke for a lengthy interval. My father missed pouring his scotch. Golden fluid spread across his hand. He didn't observe. Vanessa stared at the vacant entrance. The old timepiece in the corridor ticked with the particular rudeness of noise persisting when everything else had halted. You're the leader, my mother stated. Yes. Of Streamwave Solutions. Yes. My father raised his gaze. Estimated worth, naturally. Figures first, discomfort afterward, if at all. Between $40 and $60 million, I replied, based on which proposal we choose. The term million crossed the table like unexpected conditions no one had prepared for. Why didn't you inform us? My mother inquired. I regarded her attentively. Numerous responses existed. Because you labeled me sensible as if it were a consolation. Because Dad interrupted me whenever I discussed anything meaningful. Because Vanessa's accessories received more follow-up inquiries than my profession. Because the single occasion I referenced creating something independently, you suggested security suited me, which was your method of indicating ambition did not. I offered her the clearest truthful statement I possessed. You never inquired, she recoiled. Good, certain truths should strike before being eased. Mateo reached for my hand under the table. This time I withdrew mine, he noticed. His expression altered just slightly, just sufficiently. Sienna, he murmured, I require fresh air. The corridor felt cooler. I passed the family images in metallic frames. Vanessa at completion ceremonies, Vanessa at benefit gatherings, Vanessa at the country club supper. I appeared in several, technically. At the margin, partially angled, a shoulder in the distance. Mateo trailed me to the main entrance. Can we discuss? I confronted him beneath the overhead fixture. The same fixture my mother had once described as subtle, though it resembled a small celestial body in scale. You instructed me not to create a disturbance, I stated. He shut his eyes. I understand. A man was ridiculing me before my whole family. I reacted poorly. You always react that way here. Your family makes me feel insignificant. Something icy passed through me. And your response was to assist them in doing it to me. His lips parted, then sealed. The first genuine action he had taken that evening. I didn't realize, he said softly, about the firm stepped into the illumination, placed my notes on the stand, pushed them aside. I once believed being undervalued was something imposed on me. I stated, now I believe it was also something I was conditioned to tolerate. The space became attentively quiet, engaged quiet. I described constructing in quietness, not the rumor version. The genuine one, the unattractive interface. The 47 refusals, the evenings my vision stung, the manner I confused concealment for security. Because exposure had always carried a price I didn't know how to stop paying. I didn't name Dominic, he didn't merit the platform, I didn't name Mateo either. Certain accounts belong to the individual who endured them, not the individuals who imposed the instruction. I don't accept that every slight requires a reply, I stated. But I accept every woman should recognize the distinction between tranquility and self-removal. Tranquility permits breathing. Self-removal instructs holding breath so others avoid discomfort. A woman in the third row wiped her eyes, my throat constricted, my voice remained steady. I forfeited certain things by voicing myself. I forfeited the version of my union that functioned only when I remained diminished. I forfeited the version of my household that valued me most when I stayed convenient to ignore. I paused. But I obtained myself, and I will never label that a forfeiture. The applause arrived gradually, then completely, the way the finest occurrence